welcome. It's still Good Morning Anambra show, and like we told you that we have more coming up on the show. And this time around, we are going to transform fishery into a thriving enterprise. You know, before now, we get our fishes from the stream, live from the stream. But these days, there are other ways we can actually fish. And we have, I don't know whether Ajolo is planning to be part of the fishery family in Anambra State. Ajolo.
Yes, sincerely speaking, I've even went as far as even meeting our guests to talk about a plan years ago on how to manage fish and then go into the economic aspect of it. But like we always know, maybe we'll talk more on some of the challenges people like us do face while we are not in that business as much as we desire it.
All right. In the studio this morning, we've been joined by a managing director of Anambra State Fisheries and Aquaculture Business Development Agency, FABDA. He is none other than Emeka Ilogalo. It's so good to have you in the studios this morning, Emeka.
Thank you. Good morning.
Emeka, so that's what Ezudo will always call you.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Good morning, viewers. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You know, how has it been? This business, you started it even with the last administration, and you're still in the business of, giving us fish in Anambra State. So how has it been?
Well,
so far
so good. We've recorded tremendous milestones so far, even beyond Anambra State. Up to Nigeria and ECOWAS level. Personally, I started this investing in fish in 2005. I was still in the oil and gas industry then. But after 5 years, I went to business school and I realized that what was introduced to me as fish farming is much more than that. There is big potential. There is a business opportunity. And if you pay attention these days, the government has done so much to go beyond the traditional and conventional fish farming, trying to commercialize the fish business. Coming straight to it, you see in Anambra we have a peculiar situation. We were able to do the Fisheries and Aquaculture Business Development Agency, which is the agency that is focused on commercializing the fisheries and aquaculture sector, strengthening the value chain to strengthen the business and all that. So today, we have this agency having recorded a number of milestones, and in the present administration, the focus is in the center of the manifesto of the solution government. The key pillars, economic development and human capital development, stand in the center of what we're doing in the fisheries and aquaculture sector. Now, we are dealing with the commercializing fish. Why do we want to do business? And what is the reason for us to be thinking in this direction at this point in time? The reason goes back to the global trend. The human population is growing. The fish that is gotten from the natural waters, they are depleting as the human population is growing. And also we are competing, the human beings are competing with other large animals for fish. So there are other animals in the ocean, in the waters that are also depending on fish for survival. Even some fish feed on other fish. So because of this, it becomes, the competition is quite high, and it leads us naturally to what we call aquaculture. Aquaculture is intentionally producing fish, and a lot of advancement have happened in that direction. A lot of technologies have come in also in that direction.
All right, I think that's the area we're going to concentrate on more this morning, because a lot of people, want to eat fish, but sometimes they go to the market, the prices kind of, pursue them to other sources of meat or fish.
Of protein.
Of protein, actually. And when we talk about how far you have gone in this business of fishery, what areas, have you excelled and what areas you still need to, explore in the business of fishery in Anambra State.
Okay, thank you very much. At the moment, I'll go straight to some of the gains we've had. We've properly engaged in intentional development of human capital. So we've trained 150 youths. We attracted the sponsorship from ECOWAS in 2023. And then because we performed very well and the youths are very viable and we've set targets for them, we have gotten another mandate to train another 200. So it's increasing. So we at the end of this session, we're going to have 350 having trained, and these are potential millionaires. If you recall, the present government came in with a manifesto to generate youth millionaires at the rate of 1,000 per annum, and from our agency, we are contributing to this. That is for human capital development. So if you invest in fish, you still need to have the right hands to be able to run it. It's not run by robots. So that's one part of it. Then the economic part, which you also mentioned about the prices of fish, it's a reality facing all of us today. To that, I'll tell you that the main challenge has been the know-how to do business in fish. So there is two parts of the fish. There is the occupational attitude and what you can call subsistence attitude or approach to fish production. So people talk about fish farming. Now they can produce fish that they can consume domestically, for themselves within a limited scope. But to commercialize means you should be able to produce a mass and then feed the masses, the big population. And that way, if you commercialize, you also need to think of your customers, so they should have it at affordable prices. So, and this forms part of the mandate of the agency. And in doing this, there is the element of regulation. We need to guide people on how to do the best practices, the right business approach and principles. So with this, we'll be able to have everybody in the value chain. Value chain includes the people that are also consuming fish. So everybody stabilized, everybody happy, everybody winning. So this is what we have been doing, and we've been recording milestones in that. So for example, in Anambra State, we do not talk about fish farmers any longer. From our agency, we talk about fish business people, because we segmented the value chain into 16 segments, and each of the segments is an entry point for investment. So example of such is table fish production, you have seed fish production, you have fish feed production, you have processed fish production, and so on. There are 16 of them. So you can invest in that area, and that way you're looking at big population to produce for them, and then you grow your business, they also get it at affordable prices,
Yeah,
Scaling.
thank you so much. You said a whole lot about it, the milestones you've covered, the trainings and the retraining that you've really carried out. But out there in the market here in Anambra State, fish is still on the high side for us to actually buy. So the question is, these people that you train, are you training them for Anambra consumption, or you're training them for ECOWAS and out there? And then the millionaires that you're talking about, how many have actually gone around to retrain and then continue the business so that this food can be available for every person? This is one of the highest source of protein and omega-3 vitamins, you understand what we're talking about. So apart from the money aspect of it, we are still talking about the nutrient aspect of it. So please, is there a cluster where I can come and buy fish that is cheaper? Because most fish that we eat in this part comes from the north, especially the dry fish.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. Now it's a process. I'll need to be, I have to be plain about that.
Yeah.
It's a process. Now, the ones we have trained, we've trained them to be the right resource to be involved, to get involved in the fish production in the state. And this can go out, because this place, they were trained here, and because they are trained here because they are staying here. So we start here to develop and go out. They do not have scope. They are not limited to stay here. They will continue to expand as they turn out. Now, coming to the sustainability and the outcome of the training, we made them to form cooperatives. And one thing that is important in this training that we did, it is not the usual training. Like I mentioned, regulation, FABDA is there to guide on how best to do the business to achieve our goal, to achieve our big objective. Anambra State has a target to be able to produce 51 million kg of table fish per annum, and these young people that we've trained are already involved in adding to this number. So, because we have this target, if we do achieve that target, we'll be able to be sustained. You know, we'll have we'll produce everything that we need locally in Anambra State. And then we will not stop there. We will continue to grow, to do surplus, so that we'll be able to confidently do export and service the industries that require fish as raw materials. Now, again, to address the issue of being affordable and the availability and all that.
The high cost of it.
The high cost. Now, yeah, you know, there is what is called economics of scale. So, because the fish production in the first instance, the conventional fish production practices have not been really operating based on business principles, it's been difficult to scale it up. So, but this is what we have actually taken care of. So each of these cooperatives that have been formed have a target. You know, for example, a cooperative will do 4,000 kg per month, and if you prorate it to annualize it, it becomes 4,000 times 12. You know, and when you do that, and you have several cooperatives that are doing it, when you aggregate all of them, we are looking at the number. So as we increase the output, we call it throughput in business terms. So as we increase the capacities of these entities, the cooperatives, the private companies that are producing in an organized manner. The organized is very important. That's what...
so now, talking about the organized manner, is there a cluster of people that Anambra, this agency have trained, where Anambrarians in the Anambra can go and buy fish cheaper? I bought a fish, a kilo, for 10,500 naira. A kilo of fish for 10,500 because I wanted to eat off salad. And I have a maker Azu that is chief producer of fish in Anambra State. So if there is a cluster where the people that you've trained or the agencies, fishery, where people from Anambra can go and buy cheaper than these individuals that bring fish from Ibadan, because what the woman told me, that sometimes the fish that we have here is not actually from here, that they were bought from Ibadan. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Exactly.
We'll bring fish from the West, yes.
Yeah, from the West. So she will now tell me that cost of transportation and the rest of it also, that's why it's expensive. So why are we having expensive fish in Anambra? River Niger is just by our side here. And then we have this fishery board, FABDA. And yet, fish is expensive. That's just what I want to know. Okay,
thank you very much. Again, you need to understand. I appreciate what you just said, but it's also important for us to understand that the cost of fish is not one factor that has led to the situation we have. And it didn't even start at this moment. Okay. It's because there was no order in the first instance. Then suddenly, the forces of demand and supply just manifested. And then you see the cost of feed keeps going up every day. And then because there is no business system generally, even where this fish is brought from the West, it's done in a just a general form, not quite precise. So the forces when scarcity comes in, the prices change. And then other things that are, happening in the economy begins to affect it. But because we have this agency in Anambra State, we have looked at the challenge holistically, and we have started to pilot the solution. So the effect will not happen now, but we are on course. So that's why I talk about orderliness organization. So when you plan your business, you can start your business with a capital of 100,000 naira, and after some months or years, you grow it to 100 million naira, and then you grow it to 100 billion. So now, the approach we have here, let me also bring us to focus again, to perspective rather. The mandate of FABDA, Fisheries and Aquaculture Business Development Agency, is to reposition the fisheries and aquaculture economy in Anambra State for effective governance, regulation, productivity, and growth. If you look at that, you will discover that what you're asking can be found within this scope. So today, we are in the direction of arresting that situation so that we can control. If if a vehicle doesn't have brake, you cannot stop it.
All right, we look forward to seeing that happen in the state. Actually, that would be a great, great thing to happen. Now, when we talk about transforming fishery into a thriving enterprise, we know the situation of the country, economy-wise, and a lot of people are, trying their hands in so many things to see whether they could make ends meet. Now, how can somebody watching us, this program now, that have developed interest in going into fishery, how can the person start? Is it a possibility? If it is, let us know the details of how to get into fishery. I have in mind to make money out of it. Good. That is the reason I'm entering. So how do I go about it?
Very good. Thank you very much. So it's possible. And like I mentioned, we do not address it as fish farming in Anambra any longer for the purpose of this topic we are discussing now, for people to be able to get involved as enterprise. Now, farming in our value chain segments involves producing table fish, producing fingerlings or seed fish, and also producing broodstock, which is the parent stock that is used to generate the fingerlings. So for farming, it involves 3 segments, and these 3 segments are distinct businesses in fish. So if anybody wants to start fish production, for example, he can start with a table fish. Even within 2 days, if you have the money, we have different forms of enterprise in table fish production. You can do the earthen pond, you can do the concrete pond, you can do mobile pond, which could be plastic or fiber tank or tarpaulin and so on, as the case may be, provided the receptacles are standard, what they should be. So if anybody wants to start table fish production, for example, the person just basically needs to have a capital, have fish tanks, and then there are sources of seed fish, what we call fingerling or seed fish. Seed fish is what you plant and grow it, and then it becomes table fish. We call it seed fish because it's like planting. That's where farming comes from. So we stock the fish and feed the fish and then grow it out. Now, coming to how it will become profitable, that's where the FABDA, you need the guide from FABDA, because when you copy from somebody that doesn't know, you are copying error, and this is what has happened in Nigeria, largely. So if you start, you should start like a business. A business has a concept, basically. There are key components of a business concept. You have a product. In this case, we are talking about table fish, or fingerling, or broodstock. So let's focus on table fish, for example. The product is table fish, then the customer who buys it. There are customers that want half kg of fish. There are customers that want big size of fish, which are like 3 kg and 2 kg and so on. So if you want to do the business, you need to determine, who am I producing for? So you're producing for the ones that require big fish, then you plan to produce big fish. You produce for the ones that require small fish, small sizes of fish, you plan for that. And in planning this, all the capital are not the same. That's part of the challenge we have in reality today. So if fish has to grow to half kg before it goes further to 1 kg. So if your target to produce is half kg, once it gets to half kg, you exit it from the production line. You harvest it from the pond. But if it's going to be 1 kg, when it gets to half kg, you don't harvest. You allow it to get to that point. And these have implications in terms of budget and finances and so on. So these are parts of the things that we have actually made to become simplified and accessible to people. So and once you have this, you'll be able to grow. You start somewhere and then you continue to grow. Before now, people go into what they call fish farming, and they rigmarole, they move in cycles, in vicious cycles. After 15 years, somebody is still producing 1,000 kg of fish. Even some that started with producing 5,000, today they are doing 500 kg in the same period. So you see that there is something missing there. And it's not just only in fish, it's happening in the other aspects of agriculture. So we need that agribusiness concept and principle for people to be sensitized. This is part of the challenge. And we are getting it right in Anambra at the moment. for fish.
Yeah, talking about getting it right. Well, I'm really impressed because I've been to one of your fish farms and the rest of it all. But now, the issue is the challenges. Yeah, I think they are multifaceted.
That's
really
correct.
don't know. In the sense that when as in would be entrepreneurs in the fish business get into it, somewhere along the line, it just fizzles away. So I don't know, is it finance or could it be that they ventured into it without passion? Or does your organization go an extra mile to probably teach them on having passion before you even delve into business? Because once so do you do just strictly fish farming business, or do you mentor people into having, as in developing them to have passion so that they don't go and bungle their funds?
Okay, thank you very much. A part of what we pay very serious attention to is mentorship.
Yeah.
But then before then, it means that there has been an orientation, a direction so that you can mentor. Now,
because people will tell you that because Nemeka Nemazu and is doing well,
yes, and they don't
do well.
They
have the finance. So what happens along the line?
The challenge is this, like I said now, mentorship means that somebody, like one boy system, you have been trained for 6-7 years or thereabout and made free. Then you don't have anything in your shop, but your boss is still, your guy is still behind you. So he mentors you to become your own organ. So mentorship has to do with having been trained properly. The challenge we have today is that people see another person, they do not learn the ropes, they do not even learn the basics, the fundamentals. They jump in and their money disappears and they start struggling. And such people coming for mentorship is frustrating because what did you mentor? You didn't learn anything. So that's why we said we are piloting the development of the industry. So we train people from cradle so that they will grow. As they are growing, they will continue to grow. They will never stop. That's the challenge. Because initially we tried to engage, and we've not abandoned that, by the way. We tried to engage the old people. It's not easy to change the old people. We all know how people are. Somebody will just quickly tell you, I've been in this for 30 years. Then when you try to do your troubleshooting, you say, okay, how much did you start with? What are you doing today? Just like I mentioned, somebody started producing fish, 5,000 kg in a period of 6 months. 20 years ago, today it's only doing 500 kg in the same period, and it's telling you feed is costly. It's not true. In Onitsha, people started business, and then they hand it over to their children. It is because they are following business principle. If you have a capital, it has to grow. The challenge we have with fish and also other agri, like I mentioned, is they do not learn business principles. That's the challenge. It's not passion problem.
And could you tell us, what are these business principles that they need to learn?
Okay, good. Just like I've already said now, let me repeat it again. If you want to do business, the first thing is I want to do business. Now, if you want to do business, there has to be capital. Now, what is business? There is a concept of business. Concept of business means that there is product or service, there is customer to buy, there is value that you're giving to the customer, which is making him to exchange the money with that value. Then there is distribution channel. These are 4 key components of a business concept. So in this case, for agriculture, people don't care about who the customer is. For example, let's take fish again. People will put fish in the water and be feeding it and buying feed from another source of income, not from the fish business. They don't call it business. Somebody will be earning money from somewhere else and bringing the money to buy feed. He's not thinking of how much am I putting, how much am I expecting to get. Suddenly, one day he wakes up and says, this fish has matured. Like I mentioned before, you need to know, am I producing half kg size? Am I producing 2 kg size? Am I producing 3 kg size? It is feed that grows the fish, not number of months or days or weeks. Okay, it is feed, yes. So if the feed is what you buy with money, so if you don't buy much feed, the fish will not grow much. So, and if you're going to do half kg size, you need to plan for the quantity of feed that will give you half kg size of the number of fish you have stocked.
Now, so you're saying that if you feed your pool, your pond,
yes,
more feed,
the more you feed them, the more they. Well,
grow faster.
Faster is another matter.
Okay, because that's what I wanted to know.
No, as far as they take the feed,
big.
right, they will grow. So faster has to do with the condition. If the water is good, they will take faster.
That means there are different feeds for each level of growth.
That's
for
correct.
the fish.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you know, so there are these dynamics, and then you need to understand it and be oriented properly so that you can meet the principles and then achieve the expected result. If you do not recognize that and learn it and follow it, it will be difficult to mentor you because you wake up and do anything. You know, so this is part of the real challenge we have today. And some don't care about these specifics, like the ones that do in earthen ponds in the place we bring the fish. So they really don't do, they know that when you feed the fish, they will grow. So they keep feeding, and then one day they decide to harvest the pond, they remove the water and bring, and they have the big size, the small size, the medium size, and so on.
Okay,
and
now,
what we are teaching is precision
Emeka,
production.
there's this question, you know, bugging my mind. Those people you've trained over the years, you know, are you sure they are still in the business of fishery today? If yes, you know, how are they faring to ensure that they contribute their own quota in the level of fish that the Anambra gets, and get it just like he has said a number of times at an affordable rate, you know, so that anybody that wants fish in Anambra can get, even if it just once a month, the person eats fish, you know. Yeah. So tell us how are they contributing to the quota in Anambra State to make fishes available for the Anambra?
Yes, of course. Yes and yes. We have several of them, but again, it's like a drop in the ocean. You see what I'm telling you, our target, 51 million kg is not a joke. So if we have scales of operation, we have micro scale, small scale, medium scale, large scale, and industrial scale, and so on, as the case may be. If we take small scale, for example, we need about 19,000 or more of such farms to be able to meet that. So true, there are farms that we have influenced, that we have helped to upgrade and use business systems, a lot of them actually. Now, the capacities vary, as the case may be, from case to case. Now, but like I mentioned earlier, the older ones are still doing several things, and part of the things that impede the growth rate for this fish production is complications of bringing in many activities in one farm. So if a farm is set up to do table fish it will grow much faster than a farm that is doing table fish, is doing fingerling production, is doing smoked fish, is doing its own feed. So one segment progresses and the other one cancels it out. So it keeps doing like that. And old people are managing it like that, and you don't go and stop them. You know, it's not easy. So we keep telling them the right thing, and a good number of them are adjusting, but the rate is quite little. That's why we thought about using a pure breed. You know, so that's how we got this, training these young people. These people, most of them have never done anything with fish. And believe me, in the next few years, we're going to have a strong army of table fish producers in Anambra State. We already have them, and then they are budding. So we're getting more support from them in various ways. Even the governor is disposed to, you know, support them as well. You know, and we are aligning with the 1U 2 Skills program, because it's the same state, it's the same government, by the way, and then we're contributing to our overall well-being. So, you know, going back to what I mentioned about the business principles, following the business order. So once we're able to get the business order, then we'll be able to begin to see the manifestation of these solutions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Let's take a break, and when we come back, there are some other questions I definitely want to ask, and then we'll continue from there. Don't go anywhere. The show continues after this.
It's all about educating the people, because especially the youths, they believe in what they can do right now and earn something. You know, that fishery now, for me, I think it might take up to 4, 5, 6 months before you make your sales and have the money, you know. So there is need for you to educate them. It mustn't be quick, sharp things. okay, educate them, and then give them little capital to start that. Because some of our youths, I know why I'm using the word youths, because the aged one might not be able to run up the stress and some other things that are involved in that business. So I believe youths will do it better. So most of them might not have the capital to start. Of course, you need to breed the young ones and you need to buy the feeds for them to grow. So if they don't have the capital to start it up, so if the government can give them little capital, you know, if I am hungry and you are just preaching to me without at least seeing a loaf of bread, I might not listen, but when I see that loaf of bread, I might give you my attention. So giving them that little capital, you know, will help you to get their interest, then educating them. I believe that will help.
I think I'm just going to say this to the youths and myself as well, that we can actually, since we're actually looking for means to survive in our country, that we can actually go into fishery, the fish farm, try to like educate people about it. And I just had to find out so that once you actually own a fish pond, that you can sell the water to people for manure instead of using normal water or irrigation for it, that you can sell that water to them for manure. And I think that's the best option too, because sometimes the fertilizers can be too much for the farm crop.
As a human, we should not just wait for job in this country, because there is no job. Yes, there is no job. So every individual, if you come out from school and you notice there is no job, you should be an employer that will employ people. And I think that's where fishery comes in. Yes, fishery is a very, very profitable business that is being underlooked by our youths. Yes, I've been into fishery, so that's why I was smiling at your question. Yes, I'm into fishery, I'm into poultry, and the rest of them. And really, I can tell you for free, there is money in it, there is capital in it. And you know, everything that has advantage also has disadvantage. And I think that's what I'm going to talk about. Yes, every individual, every youth out there should be an entrepreneur. Shouldn't really wait for government to provide for you. Shouldn't wait for them to give a job before you get one for yourself. Now, back to fishery business. You cannot just sit down and start fishery. It is something you need to sit. It's something you need to think. It's something you need to, can I do this? What's the location? You think about your location. You think about the safety of the place. You can't just open fishery and let it be that way. If not, predators will come for the fish. They will eat the fish and you will have nothing left. So when thinking about fishery business, do I have this capital? If yes, you have the capital, what's the location? You need a pond, you need a swamp, and mostly there's a lecturer of mine that rears these fishes without even going to pond. There's a way he does it in his house. He brings this a very big bath and then encloses it just to make sure the fishes inside are safe. And then he changes the water frequently and give them food. You know, their feed is another thing that eats money. Yes, the feeding is just another thing that eats money. And then from fingerlings to a gradual process, and then these fishes are all grown. So I think number one thing is capital. If our government is able to provide our youths with money, with capitals, I don't know how to do it. Maybe all this funding, global funding things, I think it will help our youths, number one, who are willing, not just our youths, giving them funds, but who are willing to start. And then number two, if there can be a fishery training for these people who are willing to venture into this business called fishery, then when they are groomed,
Glad to have you back. We've heard from our street parliamentarians on fishery, how it can be
we equally had an educator of fishery, in the Vox Pop.
Emeka, let me come to you now. Most times when people tend to rear fish, they prefer to go for catfish. Is it that catfish is what Nigerians prefer, or is it easier to rear, or why not? Because me, I like sardine too, and I like oporoko. Because without oporoko, your soup is definitely not going anywhere. That is talking about stockfish. So why catfish, and why don't we have other varieties to rear?
Okay, starting with that, catfish has become popular in Nigeria because it's hardy, it's easy to rear, it doesn't die easily. So, and for whatever reason, it began to populate, get everywhere. But the only challenge is that we're not producing catfish in commercial quantity. It's arguable, but when you talk about commercial quantity, it means that we need to be doing it en mass. Not this thing we're doing. We're doing catfish in only live catfish. We are supposed to be able to have frozen catfish, move it in trailers, and so on. But we're not doing that. And the reason why we're not doing that goes back to these business principles. So we are limited. So then the other thing is, you mentioned oporoko. Oporoko is a marine fish, basically. Here in Anambra, we have a freshwater environment. The rivers, the water bodies, we have our freshwater fish. So, and there are about 30 or more than 30 viable freshwater fish in Nigeria. Not only catfish. Tilapia is involved, lettuce is involved, carp, and so on. There are several of them, heterotis. And we have them in Anambra in abundance. The challenge again is business. How do we do business? If you understand business principle and you have somebody that will teach you. You see, the boy system we have in Igbo land. It is because somebody knows the road that he can take another and show the road. So now we are forming the core now to become very strong. We were working with the old people before, but you see, after some time, we're not getting substantial results. So with the young people now, we are hoping to have a better and stronger result.
An agency, that's the Fisheries and the Aquaculture Business Development Agency in Anambra State. And I want to believe that the Anambra State government, put up this to ensure that fishes are available for the Anambra. But just like we've said before, that fishes are not affordable for the average Anambra to purchase. Is there anything your establishment or your agency is doing currently or plan to do in the nearest future to ensure that Anambra gets fishes at affordable rate and its availability is ensured, knowing that that could be the reason the government set up the agency in the first place, and what are your plans towards achieving that?
Okay, thank you very much. Straight up, the reason for the prices is related directly with availability.
Okay.
Yes, so it's the basic demand and supply thing. So when it's scarce, the price goes up. Now, it's like he mentioned, it's multifaceted. There are several things that are, contributing to this situation. And like I mentioned, we have arrested the situation by bringing order. Order gives us the hope and the guarantee to succeed. So now, to do that, we have started with a core piloting. Today we are looking at, by the end of this year, by God's grace, you should have trained 350 youths. Then we will be nurturing them, we will be strengthening them for each of them to increase their output. Now, once that is happening, we will bring up new people for them to mentor. And this is how we actually started. We started with one, and then they mentored the 101, we used them to train the 150, and now the 150 has created 8 cooperatives now. And then we are working on strengthening these 8. These things are not quite straight, but it's happening, we are progressing. Now, after we have trained these ones, we expect to have stronger cooperatives standing and with clear throughput. We will now give them other ones to continue to, train and support, and then we'll keep going like that, and we'll be counting our numbers. So that's the plan we have. And with this, it will be a kind of closed network, kind of. So we will now, for example, to help you with the answer to your question, we've brought in a policy that these table fish producers must freeze the catfish or the tilapia, because table fish can be catfish or tilapia or any other fish. So now, once they produce, because they are producing with target, once it gets to that size, you harvest and blast freeze. So if we did not bring in the blast freezing component, it will mean that they will begin to complain that they don't have market. Meanwhile, we're in scarcity. Somebody is talking about surplus. These are the paradox, complicated situation we've had in this country. So it is the job of an entity like FABDA. Before now, the government had never been playing this kind of active, practical roles. It's only in Anambra that we have it such today. At the general level, even at the national level, they've not come to terms with this. They are learning from us, as a matter of fact. So, and these are things that we are doing, and because we are doing, we've come to some, extent. So, because we've come to this point, believe me, in the next 2-3 years, we'll now see the increase in progress of what we're doing.
All right, we hope to see that soon because Anambra State is growing, and more growth is equally achievable. And at this point, our time is fast spent. We'll be wrapping up the show. But I would like to let you know, from all that we've talked about today and from the Vox Pop people that spoke, fishery is a good business, and of course, there is money in it, just like that lady said. And if you knew Emeka before now, you will agree with me that there's money in it. Emeka has added some, some flesh.
I remember that I came from the oil and gas industry, and because of the initial challenge, let me explain. Because of the initial challenge, it appeared that the fish was there was struggle, but now we have come to a point that we are in charge. So
all right, thank you so much. It's so great to have had in the studio this morning the Managing Director, Anambra State Fisheries and Aquaculture Business Development Agency, Emeka Ilogalo. Thank you so much for your time in the studio this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, viewers.
And it's my pleasure to say thank you so much for being here. And that's how we're going to be wrapping it up on the discussion segment on Good Morning Anambra.
All right, my name is Nonya.